Grandfather clock struck noon. At the exact microsecond the front doorbell rang. There was an eerie synchronization, the two tones overlapping so perfectly that they'd resonated through the entire house like a single haunting chime. I leaned over the dark wood at the upstairs banister, peering down into the entryway with intense interest. Answering the door was Leslie, my cousin's step-sister. Leslie suffered from cyanomelia, a rare condition that had fused her legs together into the shape of resembling a fishtail, confining her to a wheelchair. Sitting there next to her Aunt Flora, she looked striking. There was a soft, almost holy aura about her, illuminated by the bright Oregon sun, catching the rich blonde of her hair. Despite her lack of mobility, she posed a quiet, radiant beauty, and the same gentle personality I remembered from when we were kids. Max, Aunt Flora's 50-pound husky, immediately began barking gruffly at the visitor. The sharp click-clack of his nails against the hickory hardwood flooring told me he was doing his signature happy dance. Max had a peculiar ritual for guests. He'd bound to the door, bark once, sniff the mail sod, bark again, and wait. Once they entered, he'd circle them, nudge their pockets for food, and then immediately flop down to go to sleep, snoring loudly. But Max's happy dance was cut short, as a familiar, venomous voice drifted upstairs.
I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am. My name is Alma. I'm Thomas's girlfriend.
My heart aggressively skipped a beat.
I was wondering if Thomas was feeling any better.
Alma continued, her voice dripping with a fake sweet courtesy.
You see, he dropped his wallet on his way out the hospital.
Aunt Flora gave Alma a quizzical, highly suspicious look. She didn't buy at the act for 1 second, but she stepped aside, opening the door wider.
Come in.
You have a very nice home, ma'am,
Alma said coldly as she stepped into the fire. Aunt Flora let out a snort of approval and turned towards the kitchen.
Have a seat.
She instructed sharply.
I'll get us some drinks and see if Thomas is awake.
Hearing my name was my cue to move. I slyly slid back up into the guest bedroom, diving under the heavy covers and closing my eyes, pretending to be dead to the world. Even though I couldn't see them anymore, the poison of Alma's attitude carried clearly up through the floorboards. She immediately initiated a condescending conversation.
So, you must be Thomas's new girlfriend.
I pinched Leslie, looking up from her magazine she was reading.
What? Who said anything about that? I hardly know him.
Alma scoffed, and I could practically hear the arrogant flick of her hair.
Good. Because he's my man, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep him that way.
Leslie calmly cleared her throat, choosing to ignore Alma, and flipped the page of her magazine.
Hey, I'm talking to you.
Alma snapped. I heard a harsh scuffle of friction. Alma had given Leslie's wheelchair a violent push. Thankfully, Leslie had her wheels locked in place.
I heard you. I just choose not to respond when you're there spouting nonsense.
Are you calling me stupid?
No, but you are being incredibly rude, and I don't want to be anything like you.
What the hell's that supposed to mean?
Leslie flipped another page.
You're smart. You can figure it out. Not everyone has it spelled out for you.
You are a real piece of work, you know that?
Alma fumed.
If you don't like it, you can leave.
Leslie said simply, her tone entirely unfazed.
No one invited you in. You did that all on your own.
I heard the heavy stomping of Alma's boots. She began circling Leslie's locked wheelchair like a predator. She leaned down close, hovering inches away from Leslie's face, her voice dropping to a menacing whisper.
You want to push me over to the edge? Because you're this close for making me completely lose it.
A sharp, metallic flick echoed through the vent. Alma had opened her switchblade.
Do your worst.
Leslie said softly, staring into Alma's eyes.
You won't like the outcome.
Why don't you go back to the sea where you belong, you freak?
Alma whispered. What happened next was pure horror. Alma reached down, aggressively unlocked the brakes on Leslie's wheelchair, flung the patio door open, and shoved Leslie out onto the steep decline hill, leading down into the property's deep swimming pond. I bolted out of bed as Leslie's terrified screams pierced the house. Leslie desperately tried to re-engage her handbrakes, but at the velocity she was picking up was immense. At that speed, if the wheels locked instantly, the force of ejection would have thrown her from a chair, like a passenger unbelted in a car crash. Alma stood at the top of the hill, casually wiping her hands together, as if discarding trash, watching Leslie hurtle straight towards the freezing water. I raced down the stairs, bursting through the patio door, and confronted Alma. She lunged forward, grabbing my arm tightly.
Don't go out there. Let her drown.
What the hell's wrong with you,
I screamed, violently tearing my arm from her grip. I sprinted down the dangerous decline. Leslie was already submerged, struggling frantically to keep her head above the surface of the freezing pond. She couldn't swim. Fully clothed, I dove headfirst into the frigid depths. The icy shock tore my breath from my lungs, scurrying to the surface. I found Leslie, her beautiful blonde hair now caked in thick green duckweed. I grabbed her, fighting the weight of her waterlogged clothes, and hauled her towards the wooden dock. She dragged herself onto the planks, coughing and sputting mouthfuls of pond water. I dove under a second time, searching for the wheelchair. I found it sinking into the gloom, but pulling it up alone was impossible. My muscles were locking up from the cold. I swam up to and hoisted myself onto the dock, shivering violently.
Alma, you need to get out of here right now.
I'm not going anywhere.
Shouted defiantly from the lawn. I knelt by Leslie, gently stroking her wet hair and pulling pieces of slimy seaweed away from her cheek. Suddenly, a shadow fell over us. Alma had lunged at me, trying to yank me away from Leslie, but she was abruptly jerked backward. A loud, metallic click echoed across the water. I turned my head. Aunt Flora was standing there, a stern, unwavering expression on her face. Alma's wrists were clamped tightly in a pair of steel handcuffs.
Oh, yes, you are.
Aunt Flora said, her voice as cold as ice.
You're coming with me. You just messed with the wrong family.
Alma glared at as an expression of unadulterated evil, twisting her features.
I'll end both of you. This was premeditated.
Aunt Flora ignored her hollow threats, dragging the furious, cursing Alma away from the dock and forcing her toward a parked squad car in the driveway, revealing a side of my aunt's career I had never fully realized.